يا ربي فهم وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم افتح علينا فتوح العارفين وفكهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل واهدنا إلى سواء السبيل يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم اللدني ومشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نويت تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على تمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم والدعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله مرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. So inshallah ta'ala, today we will resume where we left off last week. Yeah, last week we talked about the different wazn, the different weightages or different templates, yeah, that we can get out of a fi'l whose madi is fa'ala. Yeah, so when a fi'l, okay, so a verb, when the madi is fa'ala, so with three fathas on the fa'ul kalimah, the ainul kalimah, and the lamul kalimah, fa'ala, its mudari can take any one of these three forms. Okay, it can take the form of yaf'alu, it can take the form of yaf'ulu, and it can take the form of yaf'ilu, meaning the ainul kalimah or the ainul fa'al for this for these fa'al, they can come in any one of these three forms. And when we say that it can come in any one of these three forms, it doesn't mean that you have a choice. It just means that whatever fa'al you choose to use, it has to fit into one of these three templates. And how do we know which template it fits in? We have to hear it from the Arabs, and if the Arabs say it that way, then that is where it fits in. Okay, so and that of course also doesn't mean, I mentioned this before, that a single fa'al whose, let's say, whose madi is fa'ala, it doesn't have variation in the mudari, okay, because it could very well have variation in the mudari, but when that happens, typically it's because the meanings are nuanced and it means something a little bit different from the other wazn. Okay, it is rare, it is not something that is very common, but yet it does occur. Okay, so now as far as you are concerned, you just take it that the fa'al, okay, the fa'al will take one of these three forms, okay, as far as our lessons are concerned. And then when we get to there, inshallah ta'ala, we'll discuss the other variations, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so these samples that I've chosen to demonstrate to you how these fa'al or how these wazn work, they are actually very common words. So whilst we are going through the technicalities of the structure of saraf, okay, of fa'al, and how they map out, how they morph out into the various forms, yeah, you should also take this opportunity to memorize these words, because these are simple words and these are words that will appear frequently both in your textbook, your Medina Reader textbook, as well as in the Quran and in the hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you should take note of these words and memorize them. Okay, so we went through the template, yeah, fa'ala yaf'alu, last week, and when we went through that template, we went through all the permutations or all the morphed out forms where they relate to the singular. So the singular person who is being addressed, the singular speaker, the singular third person. We went through that last week, and inshallah ta'ala this week we'll go through the other two forms. Okay, so last week, let's just take a look at what we spoke about last week. Yeah, last week So last week we did this, yeah. Oh, it's here. Yep. So last week we did this, yeah. We did for the hua. So what we did was these were all singular male. Okay, so everything was singular female, and then this is third person. Okay, third person male, third person female, and then this is me or I, and this is we. This is the only one that's not singular. And what we did was we met out. Okay, so how do I say dhahaba? Okay, yadhabu, which means to go. When I want to say not he went or he goes, but I want to say about she, I said that we would do this. Okay, dhahabat. Okay, dhahabat tadhabu. Okay, so what changes? We added this. Again, we added this, and then we change the ya in the mudari to ta. Okay, so this was how we morphed it out into the various forms. Okay, so we're going to do this very same exercise for the for this form fa'ala yaf'ulu today. So inshallah ta'ala we'll start with kataba yaktubu. Okay, so for those of you who don't remember how we did this last week and you need a revision, please look through the video that I sent you, as well as our video from last week, inshallah ta'ala, that will serve as a revision for you. Okay, so we'll do that now. Okay, so the verb that we've picked out is kataba. Okay, kataba yaktubu. And remember, whenever we talk about the male, okay, the male, sorry, this is not third person, this is second person. Okay, this is second person. I said third person, this is second person. So this is third person. Okay, so whenever we talk about the male third person singular, it is always the asal. Okay, so remember that this is always the original form of the verb. So you tend to find it, this original structure, however you morph it out. Okay, however you morph it out, you will find these three alphabets, kataba, in the morphed out form. Okay, yaktubu, a little bit different because if you recall, I spoke about the mudara'ah. Okay, every fa'al mudari in whatever form to whatever dhamir it relates to will have a mudara'ah. A mudara'ah is an addition that you find at the beginning of a fa'al mudari, okay, that corresponds to any one of these four letters. Anaitu. It's either an alif or a hamza, a nun, a ya, or a ta. Okay, and I also mentioned that in fact you don't have to crack your heads to remember some of these things, because the alif and the nun, they only come here and here. Okay, only when you're talking about ana, yourself, or you're talking about nahnu, we. So it only comes in the mutakallim. So essentially all the other 12 mudari forms relating to each of the 12 dhama'ir, they will come with a suffix, yeah, of either ya or ta. Okay, so how do I say she? Okay, she wrote something. This means to write, sorry, yeah. He wrote. Okay, this is he wrote. Okay, this is he writes. Okay, so how do I say she wrote? Okay, if I want to say she wrote, I would add okay, So to this, I will just add a ta here. So it becomes katabat. Okay. If I want to say she writes, I would say tak tubu. Okay. So this is the variation. Right. So if I want to say you wrote to a man, okay, to a male, I'm addressing him, I would say, I should just erase this again. It's consistent. Make this. Okay, should join here. So I should say katab, okay, katabta. Okay, katabta. And if I want to say you write or you are writing to a man, I would say tak tubu. So the mudara'a is the variation here. Right? So if I want to say to a woman, you wrote something, okay? You wrote, I would say katabti. So let's just get this small thing out of the way. It comes out. Okay. Okay, katabti. Okay, type. So if you want to say to a female, okay, a woman, you want to say that you are writing something. So I would have to say katab, sorry, tak to bina. Okay, I would have to say tak to bina. So you see that I will change the mudara'a to a ta, but herein there is something that I add to the original, yeah, to the original letters from the original fi'l, which is a ya and a nun. Okay, and you can remember this, okay, inshallah ta'ala. This is ya, which relates to the mu'annatha. So this is a ya that is ta'nith. It is for a female. Okay. As for the noon, it is something that is ziyada, and you find or an addition. Okay. And a ziyada means addition. So when we say that something is ziyada, that means it is like as if it's extraneous, and it is extraneous because in some situations you will find that it drops off. Okay. It appears in the original, but sometimes when we put, let's say, a harf in front of it, you will find that these additional letters, they actually drop off. Okay, so what you need to do to identify that this is a female that I'm talking to is the ya. Okay, is the ya that is that follows the original fi'l. Okay, طيب. So taktubina, and then if I'm mutakallim, I'm talking about just myself. Okay, I wrote something. I would have to say katab to. Okay, I would have to say katab to. Katab to. And okay, if I'm saying that I'm writing something, okay, so this is present tense. Okay, I would say aktubu. Aktubu. So the mudara'a is the alif, or rather more accurately we would say hamza. Okay, the hamza is the mudara'ah. Okay, so how do I say we wrote? I would just add a nun here. Okay, katabna. Okay, or maybe I should do this. Okay, katabna. 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 And if I'm saying I'm or we are writing, I would say naktubu. So this is the ziyada. Type. Okay. So this is how it moves out. Okay. And this is an example of fa'al in the wazn of fa'ala yaf'ulu, kataba yaktubu. Okay, so you can do exactly the same thing, and I think you should try to do it as homework, you know, as your exercise. You should try to pick out, let's say, a very common verb like dakhala yadkhulu, which means to enter into something, and then you should try and morph it out. You know, how would I say she enters? So you would say dakhalat. How would you say she enters? You would say tadkhulu. Okay, so write it out, and then inshallah ta'ala you will see the how it moves out for every fa'il thereafter. Okay, type. So any questions before we do the next fa'il? Questions? Okay. If there are no questions, we'll do the next one, inshallah ta'ala. So the next one that we will do, okay, is inshallah ta'ala, we will do the next fa'il in the form of fa'ala yaf'ilu. Okay, fa'ala yaf'ilu. And we'll do this one, okay, because it's a common verb, it's a common fa'il. Jalasa yajlisu, which means to sit, you know. So every time I introduce a fa'il to you, you know, you try to remember what it means, and then you can look for things, you know, that will remind you of the translation or the meaning of it, you know. And alhamdulillah, all of us, we have at least 2 languages, so we can try to map it out, and we can try to link it, yeah, to something that is familiar to us in another language. So for example, when I said just now, kataba yaktubu, okay, you can just remember that, oh, okay, this is like, it sounds like kitab, which, by the way, is taken from the Arabic. You know, in Malay, we say kitab. So we know, but of course, when we say kitab, instead of buku, it has a little bit of a religious context. And then there's a religious nuance there, you know, so that's why we choose to say kitab instead of buku. Yeah. So you can remember, oh, okay, because it's kitab, it's a book, so it's something to do with writing, and that's how the words get on the book. So these are things that you can do to try and remember, you know, the meanings. And fataha, you know, fataha, what would be a common way to remember fataha? Maybe you can pick out al-fatiha or doa iftitah, yeah, because they relate to opening. Opening what? Opening the prayer. This is the first thing that you say in your prayer. This is the first words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Allah's book. You know, so you can remember it that way, inshallah ta'ala. Fataha yaftahu means to open, or opening, or opening, he opened something, you know, or he opens something. So that's the way for you to remember. And likewise, when we talk about jalasa, maybe you can relate it to the majlis, you know, because the majlis is a sitting, is a gathering where people sit down. So we call it a majlis, the Majlis Ugama Islam Singapura. Okay, I'm going to a majlis Maulid. Okay, so you remember. Okay, it relates to sitting. So jalasa yajlisu means sitting, okay, or he sat. Right. So we'll move it out, inshallah ta'ala. So jalasa, okay, jalasa yajlisu Yajlisu. So this is the asal of the fi'l. So how do we turn it to here? You would just have to add a ta, okay? And this ta, okay? This ta is actually known as ta ta'nith. Okay? Why is it known as ta ta'nith? Okay? Because it is an indicator, okay? It is an indicator that what or who we are speaking about is a woman, or maybe what we are speaking about is something that comes in the feminine, and that is why it's called ta ta'nith. Okay, in full we would say ta ta'nith as-sakina, ta ta'nith as-sakina. Okay, so and when I want to say it in the present tense, I would say tajlisu. Right. Okay. So for the second person male, I would say jalasta. Okay. Jalasta. For the second person male in present tense, I would say tajlisu. Okay. So you would notice here the changes from the asal. Okay. And if I'm speaking to a female, second person female, okay, I would say jalasti. So you can try and remember it in many different ways. You can think about jealousy. You can think jealousy. Jealous. Maybe you're jealous. That I go for a majlis, I gather, and then whatever it is. Okay, whatever you can. I mean, I don't know what's what triggers you, but you can find something that triggers you, inshallah ta'ala, so that you remember these words. So for the second person, okay, second person female in present tense, okay, what how you to move it out? Encik Hazman, fadal, fadal. How you to move it out? So what does it become?
Ana, betul eh? Okay. You're talking about Ana Jalasa kan? Okay.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fadal, fadal.
Okay. Ana Jalastu.
No, 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 no. Anti for
Oh,
present tense.
auntie. Oh, we're doing
What would you
auntie eh?
say? Yeah.
Oh, you're doing the present tense, is it?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Auntie, auntie Tajlis. Nah.
No, not tajlisna.
Salah, sorry, sorry. Kasih salah answer. Auntie Tajlisina.
Okay.
Tajlisina. Auntie Tajlisina.
Tajlisina. Okay. Okay. You know what is tajlisina? Okay. Because you have to have a ya here, which is mu'annatha. Okay, it points to the fact that you're speaking to a female. This ya here. Okay, the noon is somewhat negligible, and when I say that it's negligible, it's not that you can drop it off your speech or your writing. It's just that sometimes you will find in certain sentence structures, when I put a harf, it might drop off. Okay, it might drop off, and these are following the rules of Nahu, and that's why I say that actually it's somewhat negligible. Okay, but the ya, you will find it there, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, right. So for a mutakallim, okay, mutakallim, first person, okay, first person, the speaker's voice, okay, how would I say I said, sorry, I said, how would you say? I said,
أنا أجلس. أنا
No.
أنا أنا
You look at the past tense, you will see that we have no additions in the front. There are no additions in the front at all. Okay, so you can remember this for a fi'l madi. If we are talking about past tense, you never add anything in front. You always add at the back. Okay. Right. Yeah. Actually, intuitively, you would have seen that, okay, I already did the sukun, I already did the fatha, I would have already done the kasra. So what's left?
Yes.
Huh?
I'm not sure, Ustaz, to be honest.
You haven't done the dhamma. Okay. So jalas tu. Jalas tu. You haven't done the dhamma. Okay. You haven't done dhamma. So ana jalas tu. I sat somewhere. Ana jalas tu fi ghurfatil naum. I sat in the bedroom, for example. Yeah. Baik. So for the mudhari, okay, what do I add? Mr. Zainal Abidin. Okay.
For mudhari, so you add the ajlisu. Hamzah.
Ajlisu. Correct. Ajlisu. You add the alif. Okay. Ajlisu. Ajlisu. So you add the alif. Okay. And remember, I said that the only time you use the more accurately, the hamza. Okay. The only time you use the hamza and the only time you use the noon are in the mutakallim, in the speaker's voice. Okay. So which goes to flow then. Okay. So let's see who else is online. Okay. Will any of the ladies want to give it a go? I let the ladies. No?
Ustaz, Nafisa nak try.
Okay.
We're doing the nahnu, right?
Hmm?
Nahnu, the fi'il madi, eh?
Yes. Madi and mudhari.
Nahnu jalasna
Dengar.
Nahnu jalasna. Good.
dengan
Najlusu.
najlisu.
Najlisu. Yeah. Okay. So nahnu jalasna and najlisu. Okay, type. Okay. Do you find this legible? You can make out, right? Actually, I'm trying to get a hang of writing on the iPad. I think I'm getting a little bit better at it.
Yeah, I think it's understandable lah. Just need more practice. Cuma, I think maybe your handwriting, kadang-kadang kita, for myself lah, I also want to figure out how you write macam.
Yeah, it's easier to write on paper, and in fact, it's easier also to write on a board compared to this. But inshallah ta'ala, I'll try to master the art of doing so. Yeah. Taib. Okay, so these are the we've gone through. Okay, we've gone through all the morphing. Okay, for we've done examples. Okay, for a fi'l that whose asal is fa'ala yaf'alu. We've done a morphing for a fi'l whose asal is fa'ala yaf'ulu. And lastly, for jalasa yajlisu, we've done morphing for a fi'l whose asal is fa'ala yaf'ilu. Okay, so inshallah ta'ala, we'll do the other two forms next week. Okay, and then we'll start to do the madi for all. Okay, for all the dhamirs, inshallah ta'ala, the week thereafter. Okay. Any questions so far? No questions? Okay, so some of you sent homework to me. So I marked the homework last night and I sent it back to you. So Alhamdulillah, I think the lessons are still quite manageable. They are okay right now, the lessons from Medina Reader. But just that I think most people have a problem with writing Arabic alphabets, and we don't have this in our syllabus, to go through how to write the Arabic alphabets. But you will find, okay, you will find in the shared drive that I shared with you, there is actually worksheets. There are actually worksheets for writing exercises, okay? And the most important thing that you have to try and get a hold of when you're practicing this writing, yeah, is to figure out, okay, which letters actually appear below the line and which letters appear above the line. Because I got, yeah, a number of homework, okay, a number of exercises actually sent to me where the noon is written like this, okay? So actually this is more, okay, the shape is more akin to a ba or a ta, okay, because the noon actually should be written below the line. Okay, the dot can appear on or above the line, but the body of the noon should appear like this. And likewise, the sin. So some people, they actually wrote the jalasa like this, when actually this thing should curl down. Okay, so these are things that you should just take note of, because it makes your handwriting more legible, inshallah ta'ala. Right? So you can go through that exercise, okay, and you can find a lot of like kids, junior kindergarten level writing exercises on YouTube. So maybe you can just take a look at that, take a look at your Quran, at your Mus'haf of the Quran, and take note of what letters actually appear below the line. Okay, another one is this lam. Okay, so the lam appears below the line. Okay, the ha. So likewise, if it's a jim or a ha, yeah, it will all look like that. So with a portion below the line and a portion above the line. Okay, so just take note of that, and feel free to do your homework again next this week's homework, and then send it to me so that I can take a look at it and I can mark it, and I can figure out actually what are some gaps, like writing and all that I can recommend you to follow up in certain areas. Okay, right. So no questions with regards to Saraf so far? Everybody okay? Okay. So if everybody's okay, inshallah ta'ala, we'll go to Medina Reader. Go to the Medina Reader. And we're going to start on lesson 4. Okay. So we're going to start on lesson 4. So lesson 4 is Ad-Darsul Rabi'u, the 4th lesson. So the first word that we are introduced to here is Al-Hammamu. Okay, Al-Hammamu, which means the toilet. Okay, traditionally, when the Arabs, they say hammam, they actually refer to the bath. Okay, so there are many different other words, that we use for toilets, including Dauratul Miyah. Okay, so which means the floor for water. That's a word that we use for toilet, including Al-Khala. And this is the word that is used in and around Masjidil Haram. You will find that you cannot find any signs showing you where the hammam is, Okay, but they will tell you that this is the khala. Okay, why is it called the khala? Because people go there and they do halwa. That means they are alone there and nobody sees them. Okay, that's why they call the toilet the khala. So these are some of the common words. Okay, and that are used for toilets. So hammam is one of the words that is used. Okay, but the origin of it is that it's a bath actually. Okay, it's in particular it's a hot bath. Okay, the steam bath, the sauna like bath, that is called the hammam. Okay, but now it is commonly used as toilet. Okay, right. And then the next word is al-ghurfatu. Al-ghurfatu is a room. Okay, so any room is a ghurfa. Okay, so if you want to change it to let's say to a living room, then usually the Arabs would call it ghurfatul istiqbal. Okay, the place where we have the room where we have reception. Okay, because that's where they meet guests. And then a bedroom would be ghurfatul naum. Okay, that's where we sleep. So typically, the Arabs, they would have a ghurfa, which is ghurfatul istiqbal, and the ghurfatul usra or the salatul ta'am is something that is khas, that is specific to the family. So they would have another living area that is for the family where guests don't go into there, and they will have a ghurfatul istiqbal, which where they will actually welcome guests in. Okay. So of course we live in HDB flats, and that's a little bit more difficult for people like us to manage lah. But it's nice when you can do that, because your family will always have a private area, you know, where it won't be seen by people who come and visit, you know. So you probably wouldn't put you know, your family pictures other than the pictures of your maybe your grandparents who were saleh, you know, or maybe some habaib you will put there, but your family stuff, it will all be inside, okay, hidden somewhere. Right. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to show you how some words transform in the context or when it's put, okay, as a sentence. That means in the scheme of a larger group of words, okay, that we call a sentence. Okay, so for example, this one here, they've indicated here al-baytu. So al-baytu is a house, but when you want to put a harf, okay, in front of the word al-baytu, what happens is that the word now, again, it transforms itself, okay? Not in terms of the alphabets or the huruf that you find on the words, but in terms of the shakal, okay? So what tanda you find on the words, that is what changes. So when you want to put a fi in front of the word al-bayt, it becomes fil bayti, okay? Fil bayti. So now you've learned two things, again, with regards to how words transform. So from the original word, baytun, we've informed you that when you put the alif walam, it changes to al-baytu. You drop the tanwin and then you lift the dhamma. Okay. The next transformation is when you have a harf in front of the word. Okay. What happens is it transforms, okay, the dhamma into a kasra. Okay, and likewise, if I'm saying fil bayti, that means in a particular house. Likewise, if I'm saying in a house, I would also do the same thing. Fi baytin. Okay, because this transformation comes because of the harf. Right? Okay, so this harf, if you remember, we call it harful jar. So whenever we have this combination, we call it jar. Okay, we call it a jar wa majrur. Okay, that means the whatever that is put before it and whatever that happens after it, this is the majrur. Okay, this is the jar. Okay. Right. So the next word is al-masjidu. Okay. So al-masjidu, when we put a fi in front of it, it becomes fil masjidi. Okay, fil masjidi. And likewise, if it was just masjidun, any masjid, I could say fi. Again, I could say fi masjidin. Fi masjidin. Okay, because again, this transformation happens because of the jar. Okay, this is majrur because of the jar. Okay, jar wa majrur. Right? And we can apply it likewise to the next two words. Okay, this concept al-maktabu. Okay, when we use another harful jar here, okay, ala, it becomes alal maktabi. Okay, al-maktabu alal maktabi. Okay, so you can apply it likewise if it's a nakira. That means it's not any particular maktab. Okay, maktab, by the way, it means there are two things that it could mean. It could mean an office and it could mean a desk. Okay, it takes both meanings. So you have to just look at the context and try to figure out what they are talking about. Okay, but because if you recognize you recognize the asal, you will find the asal here kataba in the word. So you know that this is probably something relating to writing. Again, something relating to writing. So the maktab is a place for writing. So it could be an office, it could be a desk. Okay, so ala kulli hal, alal maktabi, I'm assuming that what they are referring to here is a desk because they said on something, you know, but not in something. If it's alal, then I would tend to or incline towards the meaning being a desk. Okay, so alal maktabi meaning on the desk. Okay, so likewise I can say ala maktabin. Okay, if it's not any specific desk. Okay, as-sariru. Okay, as-sariru. Okay, as-sariru. Okay, some of you, when you all submitted the homework, you actually put the fathah, okay, in front of the alif walam. Okay, and perhaps it is in reference to some of these examples that the author has given us. Okay, and there's a good reason for him doing so, and that is actually just to show us how to pronounce it when there's no huruf before it. Okay, if there were something like a wow before it, so you would have just said wal masjidu or was sariru. Okay, but because this doesn't exist, so you with an what we call a hamzatul wasl, yeah, we have to figure out how to pronounce it. Okay, so for an alif wal lam, we say we use a fathah. Okay, but actually I just want to mention here that you don't actually have to put it because it is nothing more than an indication for a student. In proper Arabic writing, you wouldn't find it. Okay, okay, type. So as-sariru means a bed, okay, or the bed. As-sariru. So ala-sariri, okay, on the bed. Okay, so likewise, if it's on any bed, you would have said ala saririn. Right? Okay, so let's go through the exercise. So this is a very practical exercise, and with this, inshallah ta'ala, we can start having some conversation in Arabic with each other. Okay, so we can ask each other actually where we came from, where we are going to, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so let's look at the first question and then the answer. Aina Muhammadun, meaning where. Okay, Aina means where. So take note. Aina Muhammadun. So the answer is huwa fil ghurfati. Okay, he, referring to Muhammad, fil ghurfati, is in the room. Okay, is in the ghurfa. Right. The next sentence or the next question, okay, is wa aina yasirun. Okay, so this wa is added here. Okay, this wa means and. Okay, it doesn't always mean and, but insofar as we are concerned for this lesson, it means and. Because sometimes it can come in the form of wawul qasam, you know, like something that is, we would say, a swearing, or what do we call it? We call it sumpah in Malay. Okay, so like wal asri, innal insana lafi khusr. That is sumpahan, you know, like Allah Subhanahu wa Taala swears by al asr. So that is something else, but here it means and. Okay, sometimes it can mean or, sometimes it can mean ya, o. Okay, so these are some examples of what it can, the meanings that it can come in. But as far as we are concerned, it means and. So now he is asking, wa aina yasirun, and where is Yasir? Okay, so the answer is huwa fil hammami. He is in the hammam. He is in the toilet. Okay, right. The next one, wa aina aminatu, and where is Amina? The answer is hiya fil matbahi. Okay, so here the domir has changed. Instead of huwa, we use hiya. Why? Because we are speaking about Amina. Okay, Amina is muannath. Okay, so she's a female, and likewise objects as well. When they are female, we would use hiya, as we will see shortly, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, but when we're talking about the masculine, then we would use huwa. Okay, next one, ainal kitabu, where is the book? Huwa alal maktabi, it is on the desk. Okay, and finally, wa aina sa'atu, and where is the watch or the clock? Okay, so here again you can draw reference to Malay. Malay we say berapa saat, but saat apa tu, when we use the word saat in Malay, we mean hour. But here it means a watch or a clock. Okay, something that tells, an instrument that tells time. So you use the word sa'a. Okay, you would use the word sa'a, and they introduce to you a new word also, just coming out of nowhere here, al matbahu, which means the kitchen. Okay, ala kulli hal, the answer to wa aina sa'atu is hiya ala sariri, it is on the bed. Again, there must be a man who left the watch on the bed. Okay, because the women don't leave their watches on the bed. They have they have compartments. They have drawers. They label things. Whites only. Okay, type. Okay. So okay so far. Okay. If you have no questions, we'll move on to the next lesson. Okay, so the next lesson, okay, I think you can do number 1 to number 5 on your own. Okay, it's just ainal kitabu, so you can come up with an answer based on the vocabulary that you've learned. Okay, ainal kitabu huwa fil matbahi. Okay, we're referring to a man who left his book. He read a book in the kitchen when that is a place for cooking. Okay, so huwa fil matbahi. Okay, you can do that. So anyway, these are actually quite I think quite intuitive. You can answer it quite easily. We'll go on to question number 6 onwards, inshallah ta'ala. So here, what the author has done is that he has put in what is an interrogative particle. Okay, so how do we ask questions? Okay, so these might be less familiar to you. Okay, so instead of asking where is Amina, here he is asking Aminatu fil ghurfati, is Amina in the bedroom? Okay, so obviously, even if you had been on the receiving end of a question like this in English, you know, instinctively your answer would be with a yes or a no first, and then you would fill in what the explanation thereafter. Okay, so in Arabic, yes is na'am. Okay, and no is la. Okay, so because this question asks us, okay, is Amina in the ghurfa? Aminatu fil ghurfati? So you would answer with la or na'am first. So if you answered la, okay, so I hope all of you answer la and then think of actually something else to say. Okay, so if you answered la, then you would have said la, then you would explain. Okay, here, fi, what? Maybe here fi al-matbahi. Okay, here fil matbahi. Okay. Okay, so example. Okay, this is just an example. Or you want to say na'am. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Ayasirun fil matbahi. Is Yasir in the kitchen? Okay, so maybe you want to say something else. Okay, like because we've already done la here, maybe we'll do na'am for the next one. So we can say na'am. So na'am huwa fil matbahi. Okay, sorry. Okay, so example, something like that. Okay, so you can do these exercises on your own. The next question is man fil ghurfati? Who is in the ghurfa? Who is in the room? Okay, who is in the room? So you would have to answer. Okay, you would have to answer with a name. Okay, so for example, you can answer with let's say you answer with Ali. Okay, Ali. Okay, or maybe you can be a little bit more creative. You can say Ali wa Ahmad. Okay, fil ghurfati. Okay, fil ghurfati. Baik. Okay, Ali wa Ahmad fi Aliyun wa Ahmadun fil ghurfati. So you can do that. Okay, get a little bit creative. And next question, waman fil hammami, and who is in the hammam? Okay, who is in the toilet? So you can just give a name. Okay, Mahmud. Okay, Mahmud. Don't put two names here. Okay, one person only because it's a toilet. Okay, Mahmudun fil hammami. Okay, type. So he's given another interrogative here. Okay, mother, which means what? Okay, so he's asking here, mother alal maktabi, what is on the desk? Okay, what is on the maktab? So you can just and use any of the words that you've learned. Yeah, maybe you want to say ashamsu. Okay, ashamsu, the sun. Okay, this is just khayal. This is just imagination. Alal maktabi. But for you, you find words that are more realistic lah. So inshallah ta'ala you can link it better. Yeah. So you can find any one of these words, as-sa'atu maybe. Yeah, you can find yeah. The watch is on the on the desk. Okay. Next one. Mada ala sariri, what is on the bed? Okay, so you can look for what would be on the a bed, you know, what would be appropriate to put on a bed. So you can just find something here, at-tufah or something. Okay, or you can just for khayal, maybe we can say al-qamaru. Al-qamaru ala as-sari. Alas sariri. Okay, al-qamaru alas sariri. Right? Okay. So do these exercises. Don't copy my examples. Look, find your own examples and then fill in. Okay. And if you want to send to me, I don't want to make it compulsory for you to send to me, but if you want to send to me to let me have a look at it, feel free to send to me before the weekend. Okay, type. So the next thing that you have to do, and you actually have to practice this. So this is not something that you just do on Mondays, on Wednesdays, somewhere midweek. Open up your Arabic book again and try to go through these exercises. Okay. So he's asking us here, Ikra waktub ma'a dhabti awakhiril kalimati. Okay. So read and write with exacting. Okay. That means vocalizing here. Okay. Awakhiril kalimati, the end of each letter. And the idea of doing this is so that you know how the words transform. Okay, when an alif walam is attached to it, when a harful jar is precedes it, okay, how the word form actually transforms. Okay, so you would say in the first one, this is actually a challenge. He's dropping off shakal so that you get to familiarize yourself with looking at Arabic words without the shakal. Okay, so al-madrasatu. Okay, al-madrasatu. How would you say it if there was a fee preceding it? So you would say fil madrasati. Okay, so the next one you would say fil baiti. Okay, but without the fee, how would you say it? Al-baitu. Okay, so vocalize it. It actually helps. Okay, al-ghurfatu, al-hammamu, fil hammami. Okay, so these shakal are dropped off for a reason. Okay, it's not because he wants to save ink, but because actually it helps you to frame your mind. Okay, in to eventually being able to look and to read books without the shakal. Okay, fil matbahi, al maktabu, al maktabi, al kursiyi, as-sariru, alal kitabi, fil masjidi. Okay, so do that exercise and then read and write. Yeah, ikra waktub. Okay, so you just read this whilst at the same time, like picturing, okay, what it actually means, and you should rewrite it because writing actually develops this cognitive ability to think, to think and think faster, in the Arabic language, and to think more accurately. So it's actually a tool also for you to attune your mind to Arabic. Okay. So at-talibu fil jami'ati. Okay, so you have some new words here. At-talibu is a student. So at-talib is a student. So the students fil jami'ati. Okay, jami'ah is a university. Okay, so the student is in the university. At-talibu fil jami'ati. And say it like that. Okay, al-jami'ati. Okay, because this word, it can mean a lot of things. Okay, jim, mim, and ain. Okay, for example, if it's just jami', it means a masjid. Fil jami'i. Okay, a jami' is a masjid. It's a masjid where the Jum'ah is performed. Okay, so again, Jum'ah. Okay, if it's Jum'ah, it's a day where people gather for congregational prayers. Okay, and then you say Jama'ah is the congregation itself. Okay, if you say Jam'iyah, okay, the Jam'iyah is an association. So so this word, yeah, it can just knowing this the asal jama'ah, it opens up doors for you to learn and to be able to use, okay, other words which come from the same roots. Okay, so the majmu'ah is a community or a group of people. Okay, so the possibilities are endless, and if I'm not wrong, the mujamma'a is a society. You know, so you see it all has something to do with people gathering. Okay, right? Okay, so a bit of a sidetrack there. Let's go back to the lessons. Okay, so ar-rajulu, this is a man. Okay, the man. Okay, fil masjidi. Okay, so we don't have to translate masjid. Okay, aina tajiru, so where is the tajir, the trader or the businessman? Huwa fid dukani, he is in the shop. Okay, I think we've introduced the word shop to you before, but we'll introduce to you it to you again. Okay, shop. Next one, al-qalamu alal maktabi. Okay, it means that the pen, okay, is on the desk. Okay, type. So this is anyway, this is not a table. It is actually a writing desk because it's maktab. So it must be something where you actually do a piece of furniture that you do writing on. Again, then you would say that it's maktab. Any other table you would call it tawila. Okay, so they are different. They are different things. Okay, different words. Next one, aina Zainabu, where is Zainab? Hiya fil ghurfati, she is in the room. Okay. Next one, aina al-waraku, where is the paper? Okay, this word warak, it can mean paper, and sometimes it also can mean leaves. Okay, it also can mean leaves. So because paper is like leaf. Okay, so they will say al-waraku. Okay, aina al-waraku, where is the paper? Huwa alal maktabi, it is on the desk. Okay, type. Next one, aina al-mudarrisu, where is the teacher? So the answer is huwa fil fasli, he is in the classroom. Okay, so you know, sometimes we learn this word and then we think that every classroom is called a fasal. Okay, but a fasal is actually, okay, you know what, how the word, this word came about? Because originally, okay, school was just, you know, like anybody watch Pendekar Bujang Lapuk? Watch Pendekar Bujang Lapuk, right? So the school is just one big hall. Okay, the school is just one big hall, and then they separate each room with like just a board in between, you know, like Simply Islam Madrasah Khairiyah, yeah, a bit like that, like Simply Islam Madrasah Khairiyah. So they make this a fasal, they make this a fasal, and they make this a fasal. And in fact, when I was in primary school, my primary school was actually like this, you know. I mean, in the 80s, you will find that schools were actually still like this. I think Shanawas, you won't have experienced this. You know, my primary school, you know, what separates the room from the corridor, yeah, is actually a board, and this is actually made up of what do you call that, wooden, gypsum, is it? It's, yeah, but anyway, as kids, you know, you can peel out the wall. You can actually peel out the wall of the classroom, you know. So we had this board here, and then which is like you know, students can actually enter from under the board because it doesn't even go up to the ceiling, nor does it go down to the floor, you know. So when you arrange classrooms like this, then you would call it a fasal. Okay, So the classrooms that we have today, they would be more akin to a ghurfa than a fasal. Okay, so ala kulli hal, they use this word, but don't use it for every classroom you find in the Arabic language, you know, because in Arabic, you know, because I did that also, because I thought, oh, this is a class. So I actually asked one of my teachers when I first arrived in Sarim. You know, I asked him actually, Aina Fasli? Faslak? Is it your fasal? Is it macam kopi pasal? Kopi pasal? Faslak? He said, Mafi fasal. Ada kullu halaka. So actually, I thought that every class was a fasal. You know, he said, no. There's no fasal here. This is a big hall, and everybody sits. We don't put any walls in between the classes. You know, you sit in your own halaka. So then I got it. I said, oh, okay. So this must be there must be something else to it. Okay, so just just something to take note of. Okay. Okay, taib. The next one, Aina Yasirun, where is Yasir? Huwa fil mirhadi. Okay, huwa fil mirhadi. This mirhad, okay, and this is actually a classical word. Okay, a classical word meaning toilet, but in particular, it actually means the bowl. Okay, it actually means the bowl where you do your business. Okay, but now we use it for toilet lah. Okay, for toilet generally. That means a WC without any attached bath facilities. Yeah. Okay. So the Arabs always have this type of things, you know, meanings, nuances that they attach to their words. So sometimes we can't really translate Arabic words literally. Okay, we have to think about what it actually means. Okay, like maktab. Okay, say it's a table. Oh, then we don't eat on the maktab because it's meant for writing. Okay, something like that. Okay, Ashamsu wal qamaru fis samai. So now he's demonstrating to us the use of wa. This is something that we call ataf in the Arabic language. Okay. Why is it called ataf? Because we put it on something. Okay, that means now we have this shams. So this is actually ataf upon the shams. Okay, so that means it carries the same meaning as whatever we want to talk about in regards to the shams. Okay, so like in Malay, when we put something on top, we say atap. This is ataf. The Arabs, they say ataf. Okay, the Malays, they say atap, rumah atap, because that means the house has a roof. Okay, Ashamsu wal qamaru, that means Ashams fis samai and al qamaru fis samai. So when you combine it, it would be Ashamsu wal qamaru fis samai. So it's actually like two sentences that are being put together. Ashamsu fis samai and al qamaru fis samai. So it becomes Ashamsu wal qamaru fis samai. This is what is meant by ataf. Okay. Right. If it goes into another discussion, it might be something else. Yeah, this wow might be something else. So it might be something like what we call oh, sorry, what happened here? You don't see my screen anymore, do you? Okay. So it would be something that we call istitnaf, you know. So because like we are resuming, you know, we're resuming or going into a new discussion, you know, so might be called something else. Okay, let's see. Let me join here. Okay, testing. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Fadlan. Questions?
Afwan Ustaz. Ustaz, yang names tu, ada yang tanwin, ada yang tak ada tanwin. That one is a later lesson kan?
It is actually this lesson. We are going to it. I think it's the next page.
Oh, as in why is it Aminatu and not Aminatun?
Yeah, it's the next ini.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's actually the next lesson in the book. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, anyway, feel free to ask questions. You can type out your questions, okay? And ladies, if you are shy to speak, okay, you can. I'd actually encourage you to overcome it. But if you need time to overcome it, then you can type out a question and send it to me. Okay. Right. So the next thing that we're gonna do is to look at the names, okay? Because as Shanawas has observed, some of the words actually come with tanwin and some of them don't come with tanwin. So now he's asking us ta'ammal ma yali. Consider what follows, okay? Muhammadun. Okay, Muhammadun, look at the word Muhammadun. So you find that the name Muhammadun, okay, Khalidun, Hamidun, Yasirun, okay, Ammarun, Sa'idun, Aliyun, Abbasun, okay, all of them come with tanwin. Whereas the names Aminatu, okay, Zainabu, Fatimatu, Maryamu, Aishatu, Khadijatu, Sofiyatu, Ruqayyatu. Okay, these names that we have just mentioned, all of them do not come with tanwin, but rather they come with a single dhamma. Okay, so what's the difference? The difference is that this is the ones that you see on your right. These are masculine names. Okay, so they are male names, whereas the ones that you see on your left are female names. Okay, so it is actually a feature of female names that it doesn't take tanwin. Okay, so if you find a name that is used for both males and females, for example, like Talha, okay, Talha can be a male and can be a female. Okay, and in fact, if you look at the word form, it comes with a ta marbuta here, so it's actually more akin to a female name, okay, than a male name. Okay, so ala kulli hal, if it is a male name, so likewise, it will come with a dhammatain. But if it was used for a female, then we would say Tolhatu without the dhammatain. We would just say Tolha. Okay, Tolhatu. Okay, Tolhatu. So Tolhatun for a male and Tolhatu for a female. Okay, right? So in the next exercise, okay, the author is asking us, Ikra waktub ma'adabti awakhiril kalimati. So he says, read and write and exact or vocalize the end of each of the words. Okay, so even though there is no shakal at the end, okay, you still have to pronounce it. Okay, and then one of the things that you can do is to add the shakal. Okay, so for example, the first one, Hamidun, so actually vocalize it. Okay, so you do this exercise on your own. Hamidun, Zainabu, Aminatun, Ammarun. Aminatu, what did I say? Tun, okay. Okay, because I actually have an auntie named Aminatun. Okay, Hamidun, Zainabu, Aminatu, Ammarun, Sa'idun, Fatimatu, Maryamu, Aliyun, Khalidun, Abbasun, Aishatu, Muhammadun, Sofiyatu, Khadijatu. Okay, so vocalize it. Okay, read it through, vocalize it. it helps in establishing fluency in reading Arabic, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, type. So you can do that. And one thing that actually I want to also point out, because this is a very common mistake amongst Malays, you know, when we speak Malay, we are not too aware, you know, we don't have this awareness of the mud, you know. Sometimes you will find, and even I make this mistake sometimes, you know. I would say, maybe I would say something like, instead of saying Fatima, I would say Fatima. Okay, so note that the name Fatima is Fatima and not Fatima. Okay, likewise, people always do this as well. They say Khadija. It's Khadija. Okay, so the mud, just take note of where the mud appears. Okay, the only exception I could think of from these names is probably Amina, because Amina can be pronounced as Amina and it can be pronounced as Amina. Okay, those both pronunciations are acceptable. Okay, right. Any questions so far?
Ustaz, so it's not about, as in that means the non-tanwin is because of the feminine and not so much the ta marbuta. Macam let's say macam tajiratun is still tajiratun. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in fact, like this name can also be used for a man, you know, Zainab. Cuma kelakar kalau you namakan anak Zainab kan, then I think you are subjecting your children to taunts in school, you know, because this is how kids are. But yes, actually, if Zainab were used for a man, it would be Zainabun. Okay, so it's not so much about the ta marbuta as you pointed out, but rather it's whether it is actually mudzakkar hakiki or muannath hakikiyah. Okay, so whether it's actually a male or actually a female, insofar as names are concerned. Okay.
Tapi for Hindun is tetap Hindun, ya Ustaz? Hindun.
Hindun. Okay. Hindun. Ni dah masuk nahu tau.
Oh.
Hindun, they have a kaedah. Okay, they have a kaedah, and this this is actually a little bit beyond the scope of these classes lah. But the kaedah why is Zainab, Zainabu, and Hindun. They say because it doesn't work for a thulathi. Okay, thulathi where the middle, okay, where the middle harf is the middle huruf is a sukun. You know, these are exceptions from the rules.
Understand.
I think you actually find this in the discussions of mamnu' min as-sarf. I think you will actually find this, and Hindun is one of the examples that they give. Why Hindun is still Hindun and not Hindu? Okay. The other thing is that because it sounds like Hindu. Okay. So yeah, that's it. We'll get to there, inshallah ta'ala, in I think probably not even book 3. I think maybe in book 4, Madinah Reader. Then eventually we'll get there. Okay. Okay. So any other questions? Going to the next one. Oh, never mind. We can do a bit. Okay. So this one actually you can, inshallah ta'ala, you can, we'll just go through this one. Okay, you can think of questions. We still have 5 minutes. We can do we can do this exercise. This is about countries, okay, and where you come from. Okay. So the this exercise ba is about where you come from. So asking people where they come from. Okay. So the let's look at it. Okay. Al-baytu min al-bayti. Okay, we went through that. Al-masjidu ila al-masjidi. So this is just to show you to remind you of the harf, you know, that we asked you to memorize. So I hope you memorize all 6 of them. Yeah, I said memorize min, ila, an, ala, fi, and bi. Okay, and what they mean. Okay, so here is a recap of it. So min means from, whereas ila means to. Okay, so now he's just demonstrating al-baitu minal baiti, al-masjidu ilal masjidi, meaning from the house and to the masjid. Okay, so now we're going to ask questions. So in this exercise or this particular section in the book, okay, the teacher is asking his students questions. Okay, so he's asking al-mudarrisu, the teacher here, al-mudarrisu, he's asking his student, a particular student, min aina anta, from where. Okay, from where are you? Okay, so this is from where you. So it means from where are you? Where do you come from? Okay, so Muhammad, the student, he answers, ana minal yabani, I'm from Japan. Okay, so that's how the Arabs would say Japan, yaban. Okay, so you actually have to say it like that, yaban. Okay, if you say yaban, then it may not be Japan. Okay, so you have to say yaban. Okay, al mudarrisu, he asked another question, wa min aina Ammar, and where is Ammar from? Okay, so and where from, okay, sorry, and from where Ammar. Okay, it means and where is Ammar from? Okay, so Muhammad answers, huwa minasini, he is from China. Okay, so this is how we say China in Arabic. Okay, sin. Okay, with a sod, not a sin. Okay, al mudarris, he asked another question, wa min aina Hamidun, and where is Hamid from? So Muhammad answers, huwa minal Hindi, he is from Hind. That means he is from India. Okay, so Hind is the Arabic word for India. And here is just an interesting thing that I'll share with you. Okay, that you know this tamarind, tamarind, what do we call tamarind? Asam Jawa. Asam Jawa, we call it asam Jawa, tamarind. You know, it's actually tamar al-Hind. You know, so you know what tamar is, right? Tamar is dates, right? So the Arabs, they actually call it Indian dates. Okay, tamarind is actually tamar al-Hind. Okay, that's where the word tamarind comes from. So this is just a bit of trivia, so that inshallah ta'ala it makes the lessons more interesting. Okay, and you learn something new, so you can go to the kitchen, and for the men, you can tell your wives, by the way, you know where tamarind comes from? Then your wife will say, don't know. Then you say NTUC. Okay, you can say NTUC. Okay, so the mudarris, he asked, aina Abbasun, where's Abbas? So now this is an introduction. You know we've learned dhahab, dhahaba, go, right? So this is one of the verbs that you should memorize also. Kharaja means to leave. Okay, so when he is saying this, he is saying huwa kharaja, that means he had left. Okay, so aina Abbasun, so Muhammad, he answers kharaja, means he left. He's not here. Okay, so now he's asking, the mudarris is asking, aina dhahaba, where did he go? So alhamdulillah, you learned this already. So next week we can start asking you, ila aina tadhhab. I can ask you actually, where are you going? And then you can say sa'adhab ila something. Okay, next week we will practice inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so Muhammadun, he answers dhahaba ilal mudiri, he went to the mudir, okay, to the teacher, to the principal. Okay, al mudir is the principal, but it's not really a principal. Even a manager can be al mudir. Okay, so in this context, because we're talking about the school, so it is the principal. Okay, al mudarris, he asked another question, wa aina dhahaba aliyun, and where did Ali go? So Muhammad, now he answered dhahaba ilal mirhadi. Okay, so Ali, he went to the toilet. Okay, طيب. So inshallah ta'ala we'll stop here and we'll take this again next week. Okay, this we'll go through this again next week inshallah ta'ala. Any questions? Fadal.
Ustaz, how do we figure out the arrangement of the words? Macam
Arrange-
Zafar, min aina anta. Min is from. From where are you? So actually we just make it as, so where are you from? And words dia kan terbalik. Because if I do a direct translation word by word, the sentence sounds very funny lah. Right? So how do we learn all that? How do we learn that?
Okay, it's a very relevant question. Okay, so one thing that you should know actually about the Arabic language, and I mentioned this in our very first induction class. I mentioned that in Arabic, actually we have something called Arab. Okay, and we have also a science, sub-science of the Arabic language called An-Nahu. So with when I spoke about Arab and Nahu, I said that this is actually to tell us what function or what role that particular word, that particular word actually plays in the scheme of things. That means in the whole sentence, what its function is. Okay. So unlike English and Malay, where we do not have Arab, and even modern Hebrew, modern Aramaic, they don't have Arab. They have to arrange their sentences in a particular structure. Again, in a particular structure, in order to know like who is doing what to whom. Okay, but because of Arab, okay, because we change the shakal at the end, then we can know actually even if I put, let's say, we could say daraba Aliyun Zaidan. That means Ali beat Zaid, but I could also say equivalently daraba Zaidan Aliyun. And it still means Ali beat Zaid. Why? Because of this science called Arab. Okay, so it's not very prominent in Arabic speech, but it is prominent. You can see it, quite clearly in writing. So then you'd have to figure out who did what to whom. So this is a feature of the Arabic language, and you find this in formal Arabic. However, in informal Arabic, just like in informal Malay, English. For example, I could ask you, kau dari mana? Dari mana engkau? Tipa tertipu. Tipu tertipa. You know what I mean? I can say things in many different ways, but from the context, you will know what I'm talking about and what I'm asking you. Dari mana? Mana? Like you can tell, what I'm talking about. So likewise, when I ask you min aina anta, actually rarely do Arabs ask you where you're from in this manner. They would say anta min ain. They would actually say you from where. In speech, I find that this is the most common arrangement. But because you see anta, you see, you hear the word anta, you hear the word min, you hear the word aina, so you can figure it out. You don't have to actually like put it in your mind. Min aina anta. Hatta aina anta min also would mean where you come from. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So Nawas says, I find it easier to translate from Malay to understand the sequence. Yeah, probably, especially when you're talking about colloquial Arabic, it makes more sense. We can do certain things in Malay which we cannot do in English, And I was just telling my Safina class maybe last week, I said that we, like, for example, in Malay, we can say air susu, we can say air kopi, but we cannot, and in Arabic you can do likewise as well. You can say ma'ul laban, you can say ma'ul halib, you can say ma'ul gahwa, ma'ul shay, ma'ul shahi. You can say all these things, but you cannot say can I have tea water, can I have milk water in English, because water is water and milk is milk, whereas when we put it together, the Malays, when they put it together, and likewise when the Arabs, they put it together, you will be able, as someone who hears it, you will be able to understand that actually I'm asking for a liquid, which is which is water. I'm asking for a liquid, which is laban, which is milk. I'm asking for liquid, which is, coffee, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, inshallah next week we'll go through it. Okay. So go through the exercises. Okay, go through the exercises, read through, vocalize, write, send to me. You can send to me before the weekend. I think that's ideal, because it takes time, because subhanallah, one person sent to me in one person sent to me in PDF, and others sent to me in JPEG. So I mean, like downloading it has not been very straightforward, and I don't know, I mean, what phones you use, where you work on, where you send me all these you send me the exercises. So I don't want to dictate that it should be sent only in this format, so we'll just keep it open first. So anyway, just take pictures. Even if you just, you did 3 pages and you just want to send me a page, do it, so that actually we get to just discuss some of these things, because with interaction, I know where certain gaps lie. Okay. So any questions? Any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, okay, we'll touch base again midweek with our midweek review. So I hope that you actually watch those videos that I sent to you, because it takes time, to look for a video that actually corresponds with more or less with what we taught. So do take time to watch it, or to rewatch some sections of this lesson as I when I put it up on YouTube, So like, for example, like last week, I know that 3 people were absent, but the video was watched by only 1 person, So I mean, I put it there so that actually you all can take advantage of it and review the lessons. If you remember halfway point, I talk about this. You can go back and take advantage of it, so that you can you can grasp the issue better when you look at it or listen to it a second time. Okay, so do that, inshallah ta'ala. We'll meet you again. We'll see you again next week. Okay. الفاتحة بأن الله يتقبل منا هذه الجلسة على كل نية صالحة مع لطف وعافية يصلح شأنك الله ظاهرا باطنا إلى حضرة النبي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. ربنا تقبل منا دعانا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. دعواهم فيها سبحانك اللهم وتحياتهم فيها سلام وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. إن شاء الله تعالى we'll see you next week. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
شكرا أستاذ.
أستاذ.
عفوا.